How's it going, everyone? VenomousStare here, back with some 2v2, one of the most underappreciated elements of StarCraft 2, the 2 versus 2 ladder. This is a high rated game, actually, very high diamond, but in 2v2 there's so few people that high diamond plays high masters and GM people all the time, so this is about as high level as 2v2 gets. So let's introduce the players. In the top right corner of Magma Mines, already off to some cheesy shenanigans, Elusive Smoke and his ally Savagewood, who is me, by the way. In the top left corner of Magma Mines, Blue Terran, Lin Go, opening gas, presumably Reaper. His Protoss ally, Yoshi. So Magma Mines, it's a very compact map. As we see another barracks for Lin Go, some aggression on the way. Double gas from Elusive Smoke. This is standard because with gold minerals you always want a double gas. So this map is very compact, and the rush distance from natural ramp to natural ramp, which is kind of what you should. Those are the two rush distances that you should judge whenever you consider a map. They're very short. Very, very short. So that means on this map, aggressive play is very strong. It also means mutastyles are very bad, because with mutastyles you want to constantly expand away from your opponent, and whenever they attack, you counterattack with your mutas. So Savagewood will probably not go mutas this game, which is what he usually does in 2v2. We see Elusive Smoke has started a command center over on the corner of his base. This probably indicates to me that he's going to try to fly over to this gold, which is very high risk because it's so close to the opponent's base and it's the shortish air rush distance that it's very likely to be scouted. I think if he was going to just build it, if he was going to use it here, he would have just built it there. I don't think this is a hiding job. Stargate on the way for Yoshi, and his mothership core finishes. Lingo opted for this defensive 2 barracks play, which is intelligent, because the rush distance, as I said, is very short and favors aggressive play. So it was cool to see him open 2 barracks and just play defensive while teching up. You don't see this very often. Most people will just go Reaper no matter what, almost idiotically without thinking. Yoshi's gold expansion is on the way. It's about halfway completed. His Terran ally, Lin Go, has started a medevac. So he's probably going to do a Widow Mine drop with Marine support. This will hit very, very fast. And considering Elusive Smoke has gone for this bizarre lift, he won't have a heavy of a backbone as he would have normally. You can see he's trying to tech up too. His Stargate's later, and his units are later. He's also getting Blue Flame, so maybe if he can assemble a coalition of Hellion Marine, he can hold off this push. But I think this Widow Mine is going to be very potent. As we see Lin Go loads up that Widow Mine and takes his expand. So 2 racks mine drop expand from Lin Go while his ally goes Phoenix. And what do you know, the closest air rush distance in the game perhaps. Lin Go is going to fly right over Elusive Smoke's base. And Elusive Smoke has a medevac full of SCVs, and he's going to try to transfer. Elusive Smoke has 2 Hellions, has some Marines. Savagewood, meanwhile, is going roaches. He's playing very safe, it appears. Lin Go is poking around. Savagewood has Lings to help support Elusive Smoke. But now his expansion is being harassed by Phoenix. And if we look in Camp Yoshi, his expansion is fine. It's unharassed. So Elusive Smoke, very difficult to defend because there's rocks here, and if he tries to ferry troops over, Yoshi will presumably just kill the medevac before it can really drop anything out. Elusive Smoke is intelligently getting a Thor. As you see Savage would deal with some harass. The Thor is intelligent because it can't be picked up by Phoenix. So in wonky situations like this, he can try to defend himself from Phoenix by building a Thor. But he's lost so many SCVs, his gold base is definitely not worth it. In Camp Savagewood, a Lurker den has just started. A spine behind the mineral line, as well as a spore. Always a good move when your opponents have a tendency toward harass. Phoenix have already begun. You can see he has quite a few of them now, 7. This means that Overlords are going to be at serious risk throughout the entire game, which synergizes well with Terran drop play. So that's something you should do if you if you play Protoss and Terran combination and do Phoenix openers. Take advantage of the lack of vision from Zerg. We can see Yoshi has started double skill raise in his main. These styles are quite common in 2 versus 2. You see Protoss players take the easy base and then go for these air builds, especially against Zerg. They're very good at limiting map vision because you go double Phoenix. Well, the Zerg can't really go Muta. He can't really put Overlords where he wants. He has to make spores. It's just a very strong opener. You also shut down Terran drops, Terran Liberators, Terran Banshees. We see the Thors of Elusive Smoke doing a relatively good job dissuading these Phoenix, but this is the thing about Phoenix. As all Zerg players know, no matter how much defense you make, Phoenix will always find a hole in your armor. And they can always poke and prod and do damage. There's no stopping Phoenix from doing damage. Savagewood has a few Hydras out, so he has to be careful. Thankfully some of these Phoenix are very low, and Yoshi micros poorly there. He didn't need to trade at all with Hydras there. The worst thing he can do is lose these Phoenix. If he had picked all those Hydras up, he could have won that exchange. So we see Elusive Smoke's gold base under harassment and under siege yet again. Lengogo positions a tank out here and some Marines on the front. This is a smart move. Hypothetically, if Smoke had stuff inside here to defend, he could not even do that because of this tank. So Elusive Smoke loses lots of workers. He's going to be pretty useless for a lot of this game because he's down to 1 base, really. That's not even mining. So this game is on Savagewood, and let's see what he has. Not a whole lot to carry a game. His 3rd just finished. He's playing this conservative Lurker Roach composition that doesn't have a whole lot of firepower. He's going to try to run in with Lurkers here, and this is very good because Savagewood had a significantly big army compared to Lengogo, because Lengogo's troops were allocated to the north side of the map. Savagewood was able to take advantage of positioning there, run up the ramp, kill a lot of Marines, but now these Lurkers are probably going to die. All it would take would be a scan. Savagewood pressures 3rd, pressures forward, cancels the 4th base of the Terran, and he delays the 3rd, so Savagewood doing what he can modestly, but not really succeeding in any significant way. "13 Hydras on the way for Savagewood. As we see Elusive Smoke not producing much, his base just finished, just the 1 Thor. 9 Void Rays out for our Protoss player Yoshi. Scary stuff for Zerg. Elusive Smoke does have Marines without stem, and Savagewood runs in and tries to support the stemless Marines, and this is one of the few things that the Protoss can do wrong, is let his army become vulnerable to both armies of the red team. So he loses lots of Void Rays there. I don't want to generalize too much, but these players who go into 2v2 and play these prolonged era styles really aren't good usually, because it's the easiest thing you can do really. You just take 1 or 2 expansions, you mass 1 unit that's easy to micro, and it's expensive so you don't have to continuously produce it. You don't get supply blocked, and then you have lots of very powerful units, and then you can just look at your army the whole time. Well, Yoshi still managed to miss micro. Anyway, that's just a general concept I've noticed in 2v2. Mid-map, not a whole lot going on. Elusive Smoke does have these +1 Thors with +2 on the way, which is useful. But we see the problem for Zerg on Magma Mines start to arise. Terran can do these pushes that just choke the Zerg out and kill all their creep with siege tanks, and it's hard for Zerg to defend. So what is Savagewood doing? He took down the Terran army earlier, took down a few siege tanks, and now he's made lots of Lurkers. This will enable him to not only prevent an indefinite and suffocating Terran push, but hypothetically destroy armies too. So Savagewood does not want all of his creep and map control to be destroyed, so he pushes out with his first few Lurkers here, bounces more of them out. Savagewood running forward here, but there are tanks. Lurkers for Savagewood doing good damage. Lingogo forced to retreat moderately, but Savagewood does have these Lurkers in such a plentiful number. And if we go to upgrades, the valuable combat shields upgrade has not been researched from Lingogo. He did that 2-Rax play into fast tech. Part of his fast tech was sacrificing combat shields. Obviously he could get it now, but that's kind of the problem of doing heavy early micro builds. Sometimes you have to delay tech or forget tech. In the heat of the game, you're not always able to research everything you want. Yoshi coming forward and picking off a few of Savagewood's Ravagers. And Savagewood has run some Lurkers forward. He's burrowed one here, one here. It looks like he's running 2 more into the main. So Savagewood is doing some Lurker deception. This is the Zerg equivalent to Dark Templar, as he's buried one at the front of the ramp, so any units rallying out will be paralyzed. He's rallied one by the Nexus. This is brilliant play. He's running another one up. And this is the issue, is the Terran player does not have that many scans. So if we go to the vision, everything is just dying, and they don't have scans. And if we go to structures, there's no robo, and that's because when players do these abusive mass air styles, they neglect their robo because their play is so one-dimensional. So Savagewood is just causing mayhem with Lurkers. This is a great answer to Zerg, for Zerg, to being choked out on this map. You can't really go mutas to harass. Dropping can be hard because your opponent suspects it so much with the short air rush distance. And Yoshi is running in the main. That's the Protoss answer. As we see Elusive Smoke doing lots of damage. His Thors are ripping through Yoshi's B machines. As Elusive Smoke, for all the damage he took early game, did do a good job of upgrading. I'm gonna have to rewind a bit. Sorry guys. 2 big fights happening at once. So Elusive Smoke upgraded well and was able to vanquish lots of that Protoss army. So the blue team's hand is forced at this point. There's Lurkers in their base causing mayhem. So what do? They're forced to do something. So Yoshi just A-moves the main. This is actually a really smart move. And what of Lingogo, his army in the main, which is small but unable to be reinforced because of these series of Lurkers? Savagewood has cut off supply lines, as it were, and he has lots of roaches. Notice Savagewood does not have a Hydra heavy composition, so he has the tanking ability to do this, to clean up 4 siege tanks. And much of Terran's ability to win on this map is based on siege tank count. And much of Terran's ability to win versus Zerg is based on muling. And if you look at Lingogo, he's been forced into constantly scanning. He's just running into Lurkers. He can't really do anything because there's so many of them. A perpetual headache. And this is where we were. So Elusive Smoke's Thors are starting to clean up the job, but Savagewood has plenty of Hydras to come in and clean up the sloppy seconds, as it were. Elusive Smoke has re-established a modest base down south as Savagewood chases off the evil Protoss units. Savagewood has pretty much creeped up a lot of the bases that are often in contention this map. So this base is creep spreaded, so is this one. This base is sieged by a Lurker. This base is inhibited by a Lurker. Lingogo is being choked out, and so is Yoshi. You see, Yoshi is being forced to build the odd missile turret, which is never good when you're behind. Savagewood pushes with the huge army, shuts down the northern gold that Yoshi was taking. He also kills the Protoss army that was left, and he eviscerates it with Hydras, as losing all of those units to Elusive Smoke's +2 Thors kind of did him in, because when you go huge Protoss air styles and your opponent loses their siege tank backbone, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place when the rush distance is this short. So Yoshi GG's as more roaches pour out of the base of Savagewood, and we see these Lurkers are still just wreaking havoc. Lingogo did try to make some turrets, but once these Lurkers burrow, you can't walk up and make a turret because it's in range, obviously. So Yoshi's already tapped out. Lingogo is seeing what he can do. He's kind of in denial, like some of these never Trump people, and he taps out. So this was a game featuring Lurkers on Magma Mines. If you enjoyed 2v2, you need to subscribe and click that little email box so you don't miss more vids.